What's up, guys? I'm going to talk about the importance of learning a bunch of genres, just listening to genres, learning how to play them on your instrument, and things like that. Let's get started because I have a whole list. So, first things first, we have pop. A lot of people say, pop's kind of, it's too bubblegum, it's too mainstream, right? That's the main thing. It's too mainstream. There's a lot of things that we can learn from pop, and the first thing is just laying out a structure of the song. For example, like using verse, chorus, bridge. Just learning, just from this, how to lay out a structure of a song. Another thing is just these very simple chord progressions. For example, we can go from C to an F to an A minor to a G. And what is that? That's a 1, 4, 6, 5 chord progression. And if you're learning jazz and you really don't want to have anything to do with pop, you probably won't even touch pop if you're actually learning jazz. But for beginner players, if you want to get into jazz, you can take this chord progression, this 1, 4, 6, 5 chord progression, and make something more complicated of it, right? Instead of a C, make that like a C major 7, and instead of the F, make it a 7 chord, Before you know it, you have all these jazz chords that you can use in some kind of progression. So that's one thing that we can learn from pop, is just simple chord progressions that we can just use to kind of put our own style to it. Okay, the next one is like rock music, which I think you can learn almost the most on is rock music. You have Van Halen, of course, that's in terms of guitar, and like style and things like that. So you have Van Halen, of course. You have tapping. That's the biggest thing that we get from. Whenever you hear Van Halen, you think, oh, that's awesome. No, but he does tons more than tapping. Of course, you have he comes up with these awesome solos, and his rhythm playing is freaking beautiful. But a lot of things can be learned from Van Halen, and a lot of guitar techniques. I'm not going to go into them too much right now. Led Zeppelin is another band that you can listen to. Of course, you probably already do, but it's another band that you can listen to, and you can get a good sense of a lot of things from this, right? And just learning Stairway to Heaven, you have, how to compose, lengthy songs, I guess, right? Or not lengthy, I don't know. But you know how to compose different parts of a song and how things should sound and things like that, just from learning that one song. So, of course, there's many other things that you can learn from Led Zeppelin. That's the only one. Okay, next is pop punk and punk bands. This is Blink-182. I kind of see them as sort of punk, I guess. It's more rock, I guess, but punk. You have Bowling for Soup. This is pop punk stuff. This was actually my first album. A lot of things can be learned from punk, especially the power chord is what it's infamous for, right? You have the power chord. You have these very nice, crunchy things like that. You can put more dynamics on it. You can change it up a little bit. You have accents on the first, the third, things like that. So the power chord, also palm muting. You can learn palm muting from that too, right? And also the same thing with pop. You learn these nice chord progressions just from power chords, really. And the importance of the fifth, right? The importance of the fifth just from learning a power chord, right? So over time, of course, you gather a nice appreciation for the fifth, I guess, right? So that's pop and that's pop punk and punk. So next on the list is Latin and flamenco, and this is an example of Latin, Los Indios Tabajares. I think it's a Brazilian group. I'm not quite sure, but and the biggest hit is Maria Elena. You can listen to that. Also you have flamenco guitar. A lot of things can be learned from flamenco guitar. I think, and this is where like classical guitar could kind of come in too. I think, yeah, classical guitar can come in too. With Latin guitar, you have these nice little runs, nice little riffs, licks, or whatever you want to call them. But you can use them in like rock music and stuff. I wrote this. And then you can superimpose rock chords on it. So you have all these different options that you can use along with Latin influences. The next up is metal. Metal. You have Whitesnake. This is their latest album from 2008. I think it's their latest album. And Megadeth. This is like thrash metal and stuff. You can learn a lot of things from metal. Speed is one of them. We'll get into speed a little bit later on in the video, but metal, I mean, you can learn all these minor scales, right? You have these natural minor, right? You have the harmonic minor, right? You have all these different kind of minor scales that you can just learn from and put in your own style. For example, I really like to use the harmonic minor in a lot of things. So on and so on. So that's the harmonic minor that I really like to use a lot, and I learned that from some metal songs that I learned. So next on the list is like reggae and R&B and ska. You can learn. I have Chris Brown. This is more reggae, I think. I think Chris Brown, I would classify that as more reggae. You have Sublime, right? It's kind of like a rock with a ska and reggae kind of feel. I guess you could say. I don't know. But Sublime, I mean, like you can learn all these different chords that you never thought of playing before, right? You have this D chord, right? And you always thought that this was just a D chord, right? But I mean, once you learn ska and reggae and all this stuff, you begin to move shapes around, right? This D chord, you're playing up here now, the same shape. So it no longer becomes a D chord; it becomes like a G, right? A G major. So you begin to get an appreciation of or not an appreciation, but like an intuitive sense of what these chords are. What chords are? They're just notes built up on each other, just put together, right? So you can play a D up here, the D shape. This is a G chord, right? You can take the same shape, put it down 2 frets. You have an F major chord. You take the same shape up here. You have an A major chord, right? So you begin to kind of recognize these shapes as major or minor instead of just D and F and C and all that stuff. Just from learning a little bit of ska or reggae or R&B or something like that. Next on the list is folk. We have John Denver, who's my example of folk. You can learn how acoustic guitars sound with an electric backdrop, I guess, right? You have also early folk, early Paul Simon with Simon and Garfunkel. I would classify that as like folk rock, I guess, right? But you can learn a lot of finger picking skills from that. All right, this is April Come She Will by Simon and Garfunkel. Well, that. Yeah, so now you have all this finger picking techniques. You have all that at your repertoire pretty much. So you have all that finger picking. You have a nice sense of how acoustic guitars can sound with electric guitars, kind of embellishing everything. So that you only get that from learning it, or from listening to it and learning these songs. I have 2 more. I don't have examples with CDs or anything, but the next one is country, and the more modern country, I would classify more modern country as more pop, right? Because it's more glamorized, I guess. I don't want to say any names, but I would say that the current country scene, the big country scene, is more pop country, I guess you could say. But I'm talking about the old bluegrass type country, the Jerry Reed, Chet Atkins, all this stuff. This Jerry's Breakdown. That's an awesome song. know. That's all banjo rolls. You learn banjo rolls just from learning some country. You learn all this kind of stuff from learning country. Don't put country down. A lot of people say, "Oh, country is too," it's too. It all sounds the same. You listen to the early stuff; it doesn't sound the same at all. At least to the guitarist, it doesn't sound the same to it at all. So, especially bluegrass. Bluegrass is really cool. You learn a lot of different runs up here in the G shape, and I mean you can use that all over the neck, right? So that's country. The last and final, and preferably I think the best to learn is jazz. And jazz is just awesome. You learn all these different chord shapes, right? This is your minor, this is your major, right? And you really have to understand the anatomy of chords, how to string things together, how to really dance, I guess, between one chord and the next. It's all about flow, right? So, like, if I was to play like a C major 7, right, or just a C chord, just from knowing jazz, I can turn that into a C major 7, right? I can also turn that into a flat 5, C major 7 flat 5, right? I can flat the 5 there. I can oh no, that's that's a sharp 9, right? We have that. But I'm just gonna play C major 7. And then you can go to this. This is a version of an A chord that you can learn. We have a D minor 7. Right? We have a G13 now. You learn all these types of chord extensions and altered states and all these things, and they're very cool to learn once you know how to actually enact them into your playing, how to weave them into your playing, and also it's just a very fun genre to learn and play and things, and it takes a while to learn. It takes a while to really get down, but I mean it's just so fun. So anyway, that pretty much concludes it. It's 12 minutes of video, so I'm going to stop it now. But wow, thanks for watching. Please subscribe for guitar lessons and tips.